Check settings.
Hold on a second. Let me merge everybody in. Relax. Hold on.
Relax, everyone. Relax, everyone.
All right, everybody. I'm waiting for William to hook us up to the real
You are
world.
hooked up.
All right, everybody. This is not the buy itself. Yes, he's on the phone. Fuck you. Go fuck your mother. Go fuck your father. You're a disgrace. I hope you all get cancer and fucking rot to death. How's that for the start of the day? Anyway, let's get going here. Number one, I met with the gentleman who has a BD, and he's very, very interested. I have to get the information on self-clearing so that we can actually become the executioner of anyone who sells us a naked short, because we can actually force delivery and buy them in. Right now, when you buy a stock like a trade station, an MMTLP or E-Trade, when they haven't failed to deliver, they all look the other way and just let it live. We will not let it live. We will execute it the next day. When they don't deliver the shares that we paid for, they will be bought in. Our guys will execute them. And what we will become is everyone on Wall Street is going to hate us because we are doing the opposite of everyone else. All right, so I'm working on that. My friend is an expert on self-clearing and prime broker services. My friend has a BD. He's willing to let us use the BD and turn it into whatever we want. So I can't give you the name of it, but it doesn't make a difference anyway. But if we can get that piece of the game going, we will execute Lind Partners, all these guys, the Kramers, in 3 minutes. We vaporize the whole game. All right, because whenever we buy a share, we will guarantee that it must be delivered. All right, so that's the first thing. I worked on that this morning, have been working on it, and I met the gentleman that actually does that. In finger motion, the naked short cha-cha is the Kramers. They just keep trying to sell it. They just wash stock back and forth. And if you can sit there and see GTII, it's traded 60,000 shares. There is no selling. Finger motion, there is no selling. Okay, the only selling we have are the shorts, dropping the bids, trying to create volume so people bail out. I believe they're trying to mark it down because they know the earnings are going to be good. Like we all think so also. And when the stock rallies, they'll say, oh, the stock's up $1.25, right? If the stock was up $1.25 from, I'd say 5, it would be 6.25. $1.25 from where we are now, we're talking about being $4, maybe $5, still 20% low, still lower, right? That's what they try to do. So they're pressing their bets at lower levels. Again, if you think the company's a piece of shit, you shouldn't be in it. If you do some homework, then you'll understand what we're talking about here. Go read it. Go look at the CEO. Go look at the last earnings quarter, and you can see the growth and where the company is going. Fraud Street is just what it is. Fraud Street, the SEC is a disgrace. I keep trying to tell you, everyone, this is like, I've been doing this for 24 years. How they keep allowing these guys to keep selling stocks that they don't own. They don't care about anyone on this phone. They don't care about my family. They don't care about anyone that I put into stock. And the only thing I could do is keep fighting. All right. Now, on a good note, what's going on at MMTLP? They now have Johnny Tobacco actually doing fantastic work from his back office days, reporting about how they borrowed 16 million shares the day before. If they're borrowed, that means they're short those 16 million shares. He actually posted that. It's on Twitter. This trade station, they got these guys, obviously it's musical chairs. When they stop the music, everyone needs a seat or a cert to match your holdings. Trade station is small enough that the investors have figured out banding together, showing their hands. If you show your hands, then the company can actually check at the DTC to see how many shares Trade Station actually owns. And I put up the graphic of that 1,000 times. You can see exactly what it's supposed to be and what it does. I'll put it up there again for you. It's a circle. And this is what Trade Station. Just take out FNGR and just put in, hold on a second, just change the symbol. Hold on. I said, just change the symbol to MMTLP and Trade Station is exposed. This is how you expose them. It's right here. I put the graphic. I said, just change the symbol. When you stop trading stock, It's a snapshot of your longs. The long investors, people that bought stock, have to match their positions at the depository trust. That's just how it goes. TradeStation, the people in MMTL finally figured out if they all sent in their statement showing that they own stock at TradeStation. It's small enough that you can see the discrepancies. There can't be discrepancies. Settlement means settlement. No settlement means counterfeits. That's what's going on. And there's your answer. So TradeStation, even if the discrepancies, I don't know what the number is. I really didn't read the whole thing. If it's 100,000 shares, how did 100,000 shares get into the market? And if you look at it, if it's 100,000 shares at $6, that's a $600,000 crime. Someone sold 100,000 shares. Let's say they sold it at $10 million crime. I don't know what the discrepancy is, but if there's discrepancies at TradeStation, that means there's discrepancies at Fidelity, E-Trade, Morgan Stanley, all the rest of them. All right. Who created this discrepancy? Is it Virtue? Is it a hedge fund tied to Virtue or Citadel? Most likely, because I don't know who the short sellers in MMTLP are. We know who the short sellers are in Finger. That's Jeffrey Easton and Lynn Partners and their offshore buddies. We know who the naked shorts are in GTII. That's Alpine and the Kramers out of Long Island. So I don't know it in MMTLP. So that's, you just put we have to follow whoever allowed Virtue to create this fake company and start trading it. They belong in jail a year ago. Not today, a year ago. They should be on their second year of their 30-year prison sentence. Not still in business, not owning a hockey team, as Pedro from Phillies always posts, the guy from Virtue. They belong in jail. All right? They all belong in jail. And we're trying our best. Everyone's working. We all understand we're all down. But again, I always try to use this line. Vegas doesn't pay out till the game's over. So the game is not over. And I wish I had the money to buy cheaper stock. I just don't. All right. I sold my kidneys already, so I don't have anything left to sell. Anyway, William, I just started that little rant, and maybe you could ask me a question to slow me down so I can get my train of thought.
Well, maybe the SEC is competent and they are doing a good job. It's just that they work for the shorts, not for the longs.
Well, they're doing a great job for the shorts then. I just spoke to a gentleman. I just spoke with Ace. I'm sorry, Ace. I called you a gentleman. And
he's not a gentleman?
Yeah, he is. Anyway, he has knowledge of the people that introduced me to the Secret Service, and he knows that it's real. So I'm not making that up. We're just waiting for them to contact us. All right, they're experts on fighting counterfeiters, and we just happen to be exposing the biggest counterfeiting ring ever created in mankind. All right. So again, I don't believe that they're going to turn a blind eye to it. And as I look, you could just see Finger Motion. Finger Motion hasn't had an update, and I can't even tell you 30 days in a row.
Hey, that's normal. You're being nefarious. Don't pick on Jeff Easton.
Right.
He did a good job financing that company.
Yeah, he's long as 1,000 shares. How come he's not moaning about it?
And the great thing about going to chop shops like Lynn Partners New York is the aftermarket support they provide to CEOs and shareholders. Don't pick on Jeff.
Since October, I'll just go from this point. October, I'll say 15th is when they started October 17th, 18th, 19th, October 20th, we had the big red day. The stock popped to 7, then they attacked it down. I guess that's the Capybara report. That looks like that around that time.
You're right.
No, the Capybara report was before that. I'm sorry. The Capybara report was October 2nd. The stock went from 7 to 450. Then it bounced back up, and then they began the assault again, like October 20th, I'll say. So October 20th to today, the stock has been nothing but trending down on great news. Every day, down, 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 down.
If you're a CEO and you want to cease being an entrepreneur and get a job that's equivalent to minimum wage and slavery, do a deal with Jeffrey Lind, Philip Valier Jeffrey Easton at the Lynn Partners, New York City.
Right. That's just what they do. And I told you before, this stock BRAG, the stock always stays the same. Lynn Partners gave the money. The company's paying it back. It's remarkable how their stock is always $5 on 4,000 shares, 3,000 shares. Every once in a while, you'll see a big spike in volume in the same spot. That means they're doing some sort of prearranged trade where I think Lynn is paying someone to buy stock and help recover their money. Because there's no volume. How do you get $10 million out of a stock that trades 4,000 shares a day, right?
Yeah.
They can't sell it. They're not knocking it down. I don't know why, but I'm just showing you the pattern's very different. And the reason it's different is because they're not as short as they are in finger motion. And finger motion short is 205 million. I stopped counting. But you can see the manipulation just keeps coming at it, The earnings are coming out. The company's working on things, but yet they keep trying to move it down. And they're moving it down on lighter and lighter volume. They're just pressing the bet because they don't want to, they're not trying to slam it, selling more millions of shares at the lows. They're trying to just manipulate it. And it's not our job to sit here and get people to buy stock all day long. All right. I'm not the gatekeeper to sit here and say, oh, everybody, I'm going to make 100 phone calls. People have made their bets. The roulette wheel has been spinning. All right. And we need the government to step in and make something happen. And I think they will. And I also think the company is going to come out and slam these guys anyway. So I'm not worried about that. The fundamentals are here. And that's what I try to tell people. Fundamentals always win out at the end. All right. As long as they're not taking money from the devils. Okay. The fundamentals will win out. All right. And the only person that would be shorting this stock or knocking it down would be tied to Lynn Partner. No one else is going to jump into this game. All right.
That sounds like more nefariousness on your part.
Yeah, he's the one calling us nefarious, right?
Yeah.
Tell him to say it to my face, that fat fuck.
Tell him to say it to his buddy.
He'll be saying it to the guys in prison.
Jeremy
not stop it.
at CRTD. Look what he did. Yep. Look what Jeff Easton did to CRTD.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Piece of shit, and he belongs in jail. And when he goes to jail, I hope they send him to Angola down in Louisiana, and they beat the fuck out of him every day. Then he's going to see what it's like to be a fucking big shot.
I'll send him I'll send him religious tracts every day.
Listen, everyone. The only reason I'm angry is that I don't care about Jeffrey Lynn. He's going to get his. It's a disgrace that the federal government has left us, a small group of everybody here, and the MMTLP and the GTII and the poor people in AMC, GameStop, MULN, to get ripped off, and they do nothing. That's what pisses me off.
Well, I think
someone always said, Pat Byrne posted something a long time ago, and I saved it, and I'm going to read it to you. Hold on a second.
Don't date Russian spies.
That's a good one. Hold on a second. Here it is. Give me 1 second.
We're missing Jeff. He should be here saying, I don't like Jeff Easton very much.
Yeah.
Jeff from Louisiana.
This is what Pat Byrne put up. When exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, you're being ruled by criminals. Edward Snowden. And that's how I feel. I feel the SEC looks at us as though we're the criminals. Well, the sell tickets do not lead back to me or William or anybody else. There's millions, 205 million in fake sell tickets have hit the market, and they come from a source that we do not have the access to. The SEC, the FBI, the Secret Service, just follow the trail and it'll go right to those guys. All right. I'm sure they made the same mistake 1,000 times. They've been doing this for years, looting people and everything. I'm sure they made mistakes when they started shorting this thing in certain accounts. I can guarantee you this. When they started naked shorting this thing and we started to piss on them, I'm sure that they washed trades to close out those first accounts like the Kramers did. And they think they covered their tracks. Do you understand what I said, William?
Yeah.
Because their first naked shorts could expose and go back to them because it's probably the same pattern they've always done because no one's ever gave a shit. But once we started to expose them, their tracks have been uncovered. So they need to cover them up and start a new LLC, because that's a new LLC. No one will ever expect it to us. All right. But their first ones lead back to them. And that's the ones they're trying to get their distance on. And that's what I believe Alpine has been fighting for, because they're trying to close up those old accounts.
Okay.
Anyway. Next,
you did a good job with that explanation. One gentleman points out that he thinks the criminals want to discredit you and me because they crash any stock we talk about. What I think might be going on.
I love NVIDIA. Where are they? Go kill NVIDIA. I love IBM. I love NVIDIA. I love Home Depot.
Apple's another one. It's down.
Computer. I think Apple iPhones actually suck. But I'm buying the stock because it's the greatest stock in the world. So there you go. Whoever thinks that any stock that I talk about, they attack. Are you really?
Well, no, it might just be that as we put volume into the stocks by buying, they just say, hey, we can go get a nickel to 10 cents, 50 cents in this stock. So it might not have anything personal at all. Apple was downgraded.
I don't believe, listen, you guys don't know hedge funds. I know hedge funds. Hedge funds will, I'm going to use I hope my kids aren't listening. Hedge funds will fuck their mothers for a quarter. The Kramers fuck their mothers for a quarter. Lynn Partners would fuck his mother for a quarter. Okay? That's what hedge funds are. I worked on the street. That's what they do.
Have you seen his mother?
Hedge funds operate as individuals to make money for their own accounts. They're not here to make friends and hold hands to go down the path. Goldman Sachs is not walking down the street making money with Morgan Stanley. These guys kill each other to make money. All right? That's the game. So when you say that these guys are operating together, that is completely false.
Okay.
All we can be going against is the daily manipulators, the Timothy Sykes, that are using these day trading operations where they're allowed to naked short using the market leverage of that is afforded by these market makers lending out their broker dealers. All right, that's it. Web Bush, these guys do it. I'm blank on the term again. When they lend out the opportunity, where they lend out their license where you can go out naked short.
I don't know the name of that. It sounds criminal to me.
Nah, I forgot the name of it. It's Web Bush Web Bush lends out their license to everybody.
Pimping?
And when the SEC catches them, they're supposed to be monitoring for these illegal trades. They pay the fine and they get paid and they just keep going on.
Here's the best question of the day. Will there be a designated bookie for the Ham versus KYP pickleball match? And what's the over-under?
Yes, I can actually I know the people at DraftKings, and I can actually get us to get an odd.
And we can donate the winnings to the fight.
Listen, she better wear her Apple Watch because she's going to run about 5 miles chasing balls around all day.
No, don't pick on her.
Hey, listen, you called me out. I played the sport for money, not this one, but I played racket sports for money, and that's how you have to be. I once played a kid I was in Atlanta playing, and I was in the semifinals of a tournament, and the kid came on the court, and it was in racquetball, and when you play racquetball, you warm up by yourself, and I was on the right-hand side, and I was hitting the ball. And I hear the kid come on the court, and he starts yelling out, "Mommy, throw me my glove." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm playing with young kids." You know, in tennis, you see these pros play young kids, the pressure, because these kids are good, but the pressure of losing to a young kid just weighs on you. And you can see it when the pros playing tennis. Once they get behind, these young kids upset them because of the momentum. So I had to get it in my head, just beat him into the ground, treat him as an adult, spit in his face, curse at him. I could care less. I was playing for money. I don't care who he was. So that's the same pattern. That's the mentality. And that's the mentality you see in me going after the naked short sellers. That's the way I was taught.
Okay, I forgot this symbol. ZJYL.
Wow, down to $80. Nope, I have to call back the source, but my friend is not selling it. I can tell you that.
Ooh. Well, I know it's low volume, and if you had to guess,
Well, listen,
they're going to dry.
from
It's
what
going to
I-
ramp
from what
right
I-
back up.
I'll give you what I heard.
Okay.
All right, take it as a grain of salt. I do not own it. I don't have $200 or $100 to buy stocks. I just don't have it. So my friend does, and he told me he's not selling it. The brokerage firms are short. They've been contacting the people that own all the stock, begging for stock because no one is selling it. So these guys are not selling it. They're probably acquiring more, and they're going to jam these guys to death. That's what I believe is happening. And there was someone posted a story from many years ago where one guy owned the whole company, and they were letting it trade. Well, this is what's going on in this stock. The group owns 130% already of the company, one group. And it's going to continue until they roast these guys alive.
That's like AMC had 100 and
This is a group of wealthy people that are working together, that are trapping shorts, and they're going to do it themselves because the company's small enough to do it. That's the difference.
well, there's less than 30,000 shares and it's down 70. So that's manipulation. I wouldn't worry about that.
Listen, they're doing what you see going on in Finger. They just keep trying to print it lower so people can see it. It'll turn and it'll go. I just gave you the information that I've been hearing. Okay, I can't confirm any of that, but what I was told. So I do not own it. I can tell you what I heard, and I if I did have the money, I would be buying it. But that's a different game.
One gentleman is asking, does one group own Finger? Maybe another way to ask it is how much of Finger's float is held by whales?
All of it.
Yeah, see.
I answered that quickly, right?
You did.
If I answered that quickly, then I know that's true. But even that, you have to get investors to band together, get an attorney, blah, 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 to fight back. This is very hard to do. I told you before, investors do not band together. A lot of people don't like to show their hands to each other, how many shares they own. All right, so it's very hard to do, to get people on the long side to band together. On the short side, they know that, and that's why I always put the picture of the Romans working together, because when they fight together, they win. Here they are, the shorts are trying to break apart the longs so that we panic and run. So when they come charging in and get the first guy's head off, everybody's going to run away. That's what they're trying to do. And they're trying to cut our heads off because we're standing tall. We don't bow down. And that's what the game is about. So they can threaten us. They can do whatever they like. I told you, I told the FBI, I told the Secret Service, I told everyone that they threatened my life 6 times already. All right. I know that what they want us to do is go away. You got to look at it this way. They lose everything and they go into jail for a long time. That's what's at stake for them. Right? Me, it's just a bullet to the head and I lose my money.
Don't even joke.
A little different.
So Donna is
a little different.
This might be good news. Donna saw a YouTube short saying that FINRA had answered an inquiry, and their answer was that FINRA will be releasing a statement on MMTLP shortly. So that's pretty good.
There you go. So if you believe, if anyone on this call, okay, and I just spoke with Ace about this, we had the same conversation. If you believe that the SEC and FINRA are going to keep hiding behind this mess. Now, I've heard that number of politicians that have signed so far now is up to 90. All right? That number is going to keep growing. Power in numbers, it's going to keep growing. So if MMTLP and FINRA is going to release a statement, okay, why would they release a statement over a year later? Okay? The only reason they're releasing the statement because they're being trampled here. The statement, I could see them saying that they have a full-blown investigation and that the company, someone has, created illegal acts, and that's the statement I'm going to see coming out of them. and that they're going to fully prosecute whoever it is to the fullest extent of the law. That's the statement.
I'm not sure what the letter says, but if it's asking for blue sheets, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, they know exactly who did what. The company is listed illegally. Who created the listing illegally? Who put John Berta's name in there illegally? FINRA is not going to come out and say everything's hunky-dory and that we settled all the trades. That's one thing they're not going to say. So if you believe, I do believe, that they're going to come out and going to expose this thing, all the rats are going to run. So you can't make money in MMTLP. So go find the stock that you believe is naked shorted. And I would tell you right now to go take a shot on whatever you believe that is naked shorted, because I do believe the rats are going to run as soon as FINRA comes out and makes that statement. And I just had that conversation 15 minutes ago.
Kit Kitteridge, who not only has a great name, but also is pretty sharp. He points out they are trying hard to get people out of Finger before the next earnings report. That's true.
Absolutely.
What?
I just said that.
Okay. Go on. I interrupted you.
I said that 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think you start from a lower number when there's good news, and therefore you contain the damage to the shorts on the good news.
That's what they're trying to do. They're marking it down. If the stock was 5 and it jumped up 2 points, it'd be 7. The stock is here, so if it jumps up 2 points, it'd be 550, right?
You can be bloody rich.
And they want you to say, "Oh my God, the stock's up 30% today, 100% today." They don't tell you it's been drifting down since October 20th, every day. October 20th. All right, we had over 2.5 months of attacking every day.
Wow, the counterfeits. I'm not sure what stock he's talking about. I think he's talking about MMTLP, are 9 times the public float. Yeah, that's probably right. 165. I heard 650. So that's about right.
So let me answer this, everybody here. We're all talking about counterfeit shares. You can't sell a counterfeit T-shirt. You could, and you go to jail. ETSY lost 50% of the value of the company because Andrew Left came out and said they were selling. Someone was posting on Etsy counterfeit T-shirts. So his report is out there. How are these guys allowed to sell counterfeits? That's what he posted, and the stock went from 130 down to 60. Counterfeit T-shirts. Counterfeits in any language are a bad thing, right? Counterfeit auto parts, airline parts, military parts, anything. Counterfeit is bad. In the equity market, counterfeit is good. How's that? That's what we're saying. And the word counterfeit should always be on everyone's tongue. When you post, the word is counterfeit. Naked short is what they're trying to put lipstick on a pig, as we call it. They're trying to change the narrative so all the retail people could sit there and say, well, what's a naked short? It's a counterfeit. That's the word. They don't use that word. And if you look at the cover of Forbes, I put on the bottom of it, counterfeit since 1988. They all know about it. SEC Commissioner Chris Cox, 2008, he put in a statement, we're adding new rules, new anti-fraud rules because of naked short selling, counterfeiting shares. They all know this is a political hand grenade that Gary Gensler's got to come out and tell the world that they allowed this to go on since he's been here and before, and he's done nothing. You just look at the truck. He's walked past our truck. He's avoided us. He's paid out $27 million to short sellers who whistleblowing. We reported it 13 times. The truck. Besides all the phone calls, which we know we never get credit for because we can't tell. That's why we put the truck out there for everyone to see, because it's proof that we were whistleblowing and calling the police. That's why the truck is there. They cannot deny it. Gary Gensler walking past the truck cannot deny it. The SEC building, the truck is right outside with William standing there. They cannot deny it. There are videos. You can't put a truck outside of a building in DC without someone taking video of it? They all know, and they should be thrown in jail for doing nothing. For
You
people
can
losing
bring
money.
cocaine into the White House without a video, though.
I don't listen. Fuck the White House.
David Morgan, who is a guy about your age, a little older than I am, he said this 5 years ago. He said this: everything that's set up in the futures exchange is for the short, not for the long. He has his own advisory.
They get leverage that we're not afforded. They get to work with their prime brokers with unsettled trades. They can wash trades. They made the commission so low. Okay. When I was an institutional broker, when I received an order, 100,000 shares of stock to buy or sell, whatever it was, William, how much commission would I get as an institutional?
Well, when I was a big swinging, you know what, and I did huge volume.
How much did you pay? How much did they pay?
They started at 10 cents. It went to 7 cents. It went to 6 cents. And then they got it down to 3 cents, and my manager fired him. And I went, oh, shit. But 6 cents was the normal.
I was in the sweet spot at 6 cents for sizable orders.
But you got payout, right? I got 11% payout on that. I don't know what you got.
Oh, God, 60%.
Oh, see, that's the difference.
You know, I was paid a small salary, and I got made my money on commission. So to do 100,000 shares, we would get 6,000 in commission, and I would get 60% of that on a given day. One trade, I get 3,600 a day.
And your mother would ask you what you do for a living.
Imagine doing a million shares at 6 cents, 60,000, 30,000, whatever it was. And now they made it so the trading is free. That's why you see all this washing. It's minimal, all these trades back and forth all day.
Oh, because they're trying to get those 6 cents back.
Well,
or 60% of it. They're trying to get 3 or 4 cents every day washing back and forth.
Well, that's what they're trying to make. But if they would have to pay those fees again, okay,
yeah,
it would wipe them out, because the cost of doing business is too hard. It's too much money. So your friend who
so why don't we go back to that? Why don't we go back to 6 cents?
Your friend just said, the guy you just quoted said the system is built for us to lose. He's correct. There you go. And that's why there's no more brokers, broker dealers. They're all dry. My friend owns a broker dealer. They're starving. They can't make any money doing a half a penny a trade or a penny a trade. You can't make any money. You have to do 10 billion shares a day to make money. So the game has completely changed as far as commission goes. So the commission, no commission, we all think it's good. Oh, we're trading for free. Well, the bad guys are doing the same thing, and they can do it all day long and manipulate prices, steal $1 from us. Well, we're sitting there, we traded for free. Very different.
This guy says New Year's same bullshit. Well, anyway, poopas to go. I'm trying to make it different.
What did he say?
He said New Year's same BS. So
well, tell the guy go take a walk. I hope you lose all your money. Go fuck yourself. Get out of here.
Yeah, we're trying to be positive and make change. We can be, shitty.
Tell the big mouth who just said that. Come meet me in DC and say it to my face.
My
friends are all pissed off.
In 2 weeks,
I'm good. And I don't want to hear bullshit. Hang up on that fucking guy. Get out of here.
Yeah. In 2 weeks, I'm going to go walk the halls of Congress. Come do it with me.
Yeah, he's not leaving his fat ass in the desk. Go fuck yourself. I hope they take all your money. You chicken shit. Go talk to the people. My father landed on the beaches of Normandy fighting for this country. My friend's fathers fought in the Korean War. Purple Hearts. People fight. This is what it's about. If you don't want to fight, then you don't belong in this country. Get the fuck out of here. That's what it's about. We're standing here fighting for you. I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting here looking for a fucking medal. We're here trying to save everybody's money. My families, your families, everyone's. The people that died fighting for this country, these guys are stealing the money of their families. all these old people in Vietnam, people fighting now in the military. They come out there, all their pensions are stolen. And you're sitting there moaning. Get out of here. Get lost.
Okay, so this is good news. Allende Taylor says there's a finger update from Mark Bazile. The court default judgment is pending right now versus Finger and Capybara. They're just waiting for the judge to sign off.
And they defaulted already. So we're just waiting for the judge to sign off on it. And Mark Bazile said it a while ago that as soon as he gets the default judgment, he's going to Interpol to have them arrested. Listen, those guys are not getting away. They think they're getting away. They're living in foreign countries. Mark Bazile is tied. As a matter of fact, everyone, Mark Bazile had the FBI call me.
Ooh.
All right. So Mark Bazile has got great ties to law enforcement. All right. So again, he's the gentleman that gave me the FBI out of New York. All right.
But don't tell anyone.
I don't give a shit. So we have great introductions to law enforcement. I just can't make them move faster. I told you when I met the FBI, he said to me, we don't find them, we put them in jail. Are you okay with that? I said, yes. And that was directly at the Kramers. There's a gentleman in Long Island who went to the FBI on his own. He said the FBI knows all about the Kramers. Why aren't they grabbing them? For all I know, the FBI is working with the Kramers, and the Kramers are giving up everybody on the street, which we heard a long time ago that they actually are giving up people, and they are giving up other people. Maybe they're the ones that give up Savvy. I don't know. That was what we heard a long time ago.
Did you lose at pickleball today?
No, I won. I was actually outstanding today. So
one gentleman.
I'm going to go play later. I'm going to rip people's heads off when I hit the ball.
One gentleman is worried that you're upset today. Maybe that was
no. Just listen. This is the game. Listen, I don't back down. There's nothing I can say. And when people call up and complain that it's sitting home, and I got it, people. You don't have to. I don't ask anybody to do anything. I'm not asking you to do anything. I ask you don't call up and bitch at us. That it's the same shit. 24 years. I started with 2 people fighting, and now we got thousands of people fighting. Everyone's fighting to make it better for all of us. And to sit here and try to piss on us is just insulting. That burns me up. Because there's people in MMTLP that are fighting 44 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like Anna, she goes down to DC, left her family, walking around, knocking on doors, and look what she's done. How do I know it? Because I seen her do it. I was there. Me and William went back there twice after her. And my friend Todd came down. All right. My friend Lou came down. There's other people that came down. They're sitting here. They have jobs. They left their jobs, flew in, spent money, and walked around with us trying to make change. And this guy happens to be calling us up saying, hey, there's nothing going on. Really? No shit.
I'd hate to see how you are when you lose.
I'm actually a good loser.
Show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. No, I can't remember the saying.
Right.
One guy just is asking for more info on CJYL. He already brought it up. Basically,
my friends own it. I do not own it. I don't even know what they do. I'm told that the group owns 130% of the company already. I'm sure that they're adding more to it. I don't know how many shares are in the float, but they believe they got these guys. The brokerage firms that are short, or the traders that are short, have been reaching out to the group trying to get them to sell them stock. When they don't sell them stock, what do? They try to smash it down to send a message. When these guys buy it, they're trying to get people to sell the stock. Isn't that the same thing that's happened in Finger Motion or GTII? The stock's down 40 days in a row. As my older brother always told me, even a shitty stock has an update. We don't even get an update. Nothing. The stock ticks up, they offer it lower. They wanted it below 4. They keep ticking it. They're willing to sell stock lower, get less money, just trying to get you to, so that people on a phone call up and say the same shit to us all the time. No kidding. We all know what they're doing. We know who it is. We know how big it is. We put it on the truck. We put it to the SEC. And what would you like me to do if they don't react? And that's where we stand. Anything else, Wayne?
Not really, but I can look quickly.
I told you I'm going to try to create the next Robin Hood. The only difference is we're going to force settlement. When you buy 1,000 shares and they don't deliver it, our back office people are going to say, okay, E-Trade, we bought 1,000 shares from you yesterday. Where's delivery? E-Trade's going to say, well, Morgan Stanley didn't deliver to us. Okay, thank you. Boom, we bought you in. Here's the bill. Thank you very much. E-Trade's going to say, well, you can't do that. Yes, we can. That's the rules. Thank you. Next. And we go on and go on and go on. We're going to get people to quit Robinhood, open up accounts with us. Robinhood is a $12 billion company. We can turn our brokerage firm into a $12 billion company doing the right thing. And that's what we're going to do. And on top of that, if I were able to get 30% of the company or 40% from the individual that owns the BD and start this business up and get it funded, I'm going to bring people in and make everybody be part of it.
Flip that on its head. Get 60%, leave him 40 because you're going to make him rich.
Exactly. I want to make sure that the people that are going to be helping us, everyone gets rewarded.
I know. So go 60-40.
No.
For the good guys.
No, yeah, listen, the guy hates the shorts. So, I mean, so we got the first part done already.
This guy, I don't know where he gets his 8 times. Kit is saying Finger is closing on 8x counterfeits of the public float, which is about 25 million. So times 8, that's 196, 200 million. Ham is saying possibly 205. Kit says, I believe it. I believe
if it's 200, 150, 190, whatever it may be, I know people aren't selling it. They keep selling more. So every day, if you just do it, today's traded 366. At a 366, I'll say 300. It's been crossed, washed, it's all fake. There's nothing. It's the same. The volume would be the same type of volume that you see in GTII. That's what you would see.
A couple of people are pointing, we could go get the cameras outside of the SEC, get the videos. But, you know, we put up the pictures that we were there. I don't know.
We don't need to hide the fact. They know it's there. I'm just waiting on deciding what to do next. You know, we're not going away. Listen, it cost me $2,000 each time for the truck, 13 times. Did I ever ask anybody for a penny here, William?
No, you didn't.
That's correct. All I ask for you is that you don't have to buy a share. I always say that. All you have to do is support, and whatever stock you're in is spread the word. Be careful. Tell the world. Look what MMTLP is doing as a team working together. Go on Twitter and just look at all the volume, all the stuff that's going up on MMTLP. People, they created their own studio. They're creating videos. They're doing everything. And it's here to, besides help themselves, they're here to help you. We can at least support them. I didn't lose any money in MMTLP. I never bought it. William owns it. I have other friends that in it.
There's one guy here owns over 40,000 shares. My ownership is paltry. I bet I paid more for my small position than he paid for 40,000 shares.
Well, listen, you don't know. I don't know. But again, I support them and I will always support them. They got skunked. People always say, what stock's going to go first? Well, I always thought it was going to be Finger. Then it jumped to GTI because we're hearing that they got the consultant. They're working on a deal. The consultant's been reaching out to me. I just haven't had time to sit down and talk to them and ask them what the hell they're doing. I have no idea. All right. Ace even told me that the guy wants to reach out to me and talk to me. So again, this is like the third person that sent the messages for me to talk to this guy, whoever, I forgot his name, whatever it is. Okay, I don't know what his plan is. I don't know what he's doing. My plan is to expose naked shorts. I'm not here to build fundamental values for anybody. That's not my job. These are not my companies. I'm not here to do that. The companies have to do that. I'm here to stop naked short selling. That's it. Plain, simple. Before I leave this planet, that's what I'm going to get done. You want to join in and be part of it? I'm not looking for medal. Give a medal to the big mouth who says, but nothing's going on. Give it to him. Let him choke on it. Listen, I don't take.
They halted ZJYL.
Well, they do it whenever it's down a certain percentage. I don't even know what the hell that's about. But anyway, anyone that's a coward that sits here and tries to throw stones at people trying to fight for them is a coward. That's how I look at it. You want to be a coward, be the coward.
Well, I think you said
and
it.
I understand their anger. They're probably losing money. I got it. I'm pissed off too. You think I like to see my account down every day? You think I'm enjoying it? I got kids too, grandkids too. I want to enjoy a good life. You think I'm like the Kramers walking around telling everybody go fuck you? That's what the Kramers say. They put pictures up. Their kids. That's their mentality.
That's how they trained their son.
This is how we steal, and you can't do anything about it. That's their mentality. We're going out to Beverly Hills. We're having fun. We're laughing. You know, they got $1 million homes. They're laughing their asses off, and we have to sit here and take this in our face. And when the FBI calls and they say things and they're losing money, the FBI owns Finger and they own MMTLP. I'll be the first to tell you. That's what they told me. And every time they call me up, you know what I do? I laugh at them. Hey, you enjoying it yet? When are you going to step in? Just show up, put the jacket on, and go ask. Let me see your statements, your phone records, and everything. Who you're dealing with. Watch how fast they all start turning on each other. That's what needs to be happening. And I'm glad they're getting their asses kicked. Because it's a disgrace they haven't stepped up yet. And I'm on their side. I'm like, what are you waiting for? I put the photo up. It's been going on since 1988. I've been screaming since 2000. It's 2024. People, listen, I don't have to do this. I don't have to get on these stupid calls. I'm trying to help people to understand what's going on so we can fight back. If you don't own the stock, understand, don't be careful. Whatever minefield you step into, you could go in here and find a company that you think has got the greatest technology ever, and they destroy it. They don't destroy the technology. They choke the companies because they need money. MULN can't build a car without money. You know? They can't do that. They can't build a car without money. You can't do anything without money. That's why companies go public, because they need the money. Right? MULN, if it had all the money in the world, he could have been private. Why would he have to deal with this shit? Think about that guy. I don't know him, but think about him. I've spoken to him. Think about him and his family. Every day he's working, doing this shit, and he just loses his money. And what did the investors say? Oh, he's stealing money. He's making a fortune. Well, he built a car. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he did. You invested in it because he was building a car. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen the car. But that's what he did. So, again, any other questions, Wayne?
Well, M. Casey wants to give you some of his next bridge because he appreciates what you do.
Listen, I'm not here. Money doesn't mean anything. It's not going to change my life. I can't eat a bigger steak. Matter of fact, I don't even enjoy eating it anymore. I want this over with. My kids at the age they can invest, they put money in their pension accounts, and they're going to have kids. And if their money continues, no one's going to have any money. The system is going to collapse unless we stand up.
Well, that's the point that you've made so many times. It's not good versus evil. It's not Ham versus the wonderful Jeff Easton. The whole system cannot take this abuse very much longer. The whole thing's going to collapse. But you can choose which side you're on. You can laugh at people fighting to save it, or
Right.
or try to grab your last bit of money before it does collapse.
I'm the first guy to tell you, when you get in here, it's tough to sit in any stock because at any given time, these guys can attack you and wipe out your holdings. Wolf was trading at, Bitcoin was trading at 45,000. Bitcoin was up. They slaughtered it in one day, lost 33% of its value in one day. 33% in one day. That's not normal trading. The company's done nothing wrong. They make money off the price of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
They make the spread. Whether it's a Bitcoin 40,000 or 45,000, they're making money. That's how they make money. They mine Bitcoin. I'm just saying it because I happen to study it a little bit. I don't know much more than that. I believe they told me because of their nuclear power, they make the biggest spread. So Bitcoin's 45,000. It cost them 2,000 to mine Bitcoins, so they make 43,000. If it's 40,000, they make 38,000. That's how they make money. I don't know about you, but that's profit. Bitcoin was 8,000, 18,000 last year. Hits 45,000. So that's how these guys make money. And to slaughter the stock on a story that the government's not going to approve the ETF this week, and it's going to do it in the second quarter, to lose 30, everyone ran out because it's going to take an extra month or two. That is complete fraud, my friends. That's like telling you, oh, this company's going to cure for cancer. Oh, they didn't have it today. They're going to have it in 2 months, and everyone just sells it down because it's another 2 months of waiting. That's complete nonsense. And people's stocks don't trade like this. I've been trading stocks since 1980, I guess. I don't even know how long. Stocks you've never traded like this. This is all fraud, what you're seeing. Manipulation every day. And the short sellers, for those people who have no idea how a short seller operates, okay, a real short, not the criminals that you're watching here, they short it when the stocks go down, okay, like Finger Motion's down from 7 to 362, and I was short 1 million shares at 7. I said, I'm going to start to cover this thing. I would jam it up back to 4.25, and then start to let it fall back down again. Go right past 4, back to 390. And then when people throw their stock out for sale, because I missed the rally, they'll scoop it up again. They scoop it up in waves. That's how they do it. There are no sellers. So they need to create this volatility so people will panic and they can scoop up your shares and lock in the profit. That's what they're doing. How do I know that? I've seen it done 1,000 times. How do I know? I did it myself. I covered millions of shares of stock short for funds. I did it. You just don't sit there on the bid for 3 million shares of stock and hope you get hit. You need to get people to come out of the stock. Sellers, you need sellers. If I see a bid for 3 million shares, there's not a prayer in the world I'm going to sell it and hit the bid. I'm going to wait for that buyer to step up and pay higher. So what do? They step up and pay higher. And then when they stop doing it, everyone looks around and says, oh my God, they stopped the music. Hit the bid, sell it back down. And that's what happens. And the shorts walk away. All the traders come back and try to help sell it, break even, get out of it. Because remember, we're going to front run the 3 million share bid. I would run in front of it. If you told me you had 3 million shares to buy of Finger Motion at 4, I'll be out there buying the 362, 65, 70, 75, 85. I would take it to 4 myself and say, okay, Dopey, you want to pay 4? I'm going to offer some at 405, 410. That's front running. So they don't show their cards. They need to come in and scoop it up. That's how shorts trade. Yeah, remember, they have to buy back the stock they sold. The criminals we're dealing with sell the stock, and they make no attempts to buy it back because they want it to go to zero because they pay no taxes. We already discussed that nauseum already about that game. When these reverses happen, the short positions get reduced. If they reduce it 100%, their position is free. They made all their money. They don't pay any taxes. The whole position goes away. What's the tax consequence to the IRS on a reverse split when people are short the stock? There's your question. If anyone's an IRS agent on the call, right? William,
Yeah.
you with me?
Yeah.
What's the tax consequence when you're short the stock and the company reverses it and your position is now gone?
You don't have any, there's no 1099. You don't have a closing.
There's no position. Where did it go? What happened to
You don't have a closing transaction. So
there's no closing transaction. What do? Do you think these offshore funds are reporting anything to anybody? What happened to my position? I don't know. We're still open as far as we're concerned, right? William?
Yep.
I never closed out that transaction. Well, it doesn't exist anymore. Oh, sorry about that. We forgot. All right, you don't know. Who's going to say anything? And that's how it works. So the system is designed for everyone to lose. That is correct. So Finger Motion, as a company, went after the guys who put out false reports, filed a case in New York City, hired a lawyer, spent money on nonsense to get a judgment against these criminals. And now what do? You got to call the police, show them the judgment, and have them go chase down these criminals from Brazil, wherever they are now, right? They did the same thing to SHOT. They did the same thing to this one, whatever it was, Peloton, EXAS. The short, Andrew Left went after EXAS, Eddie, X-Ray, Apple, Sam. My friends owned the stock at 30. He knocked it down to 23. I can't even tell you how many years ago that was. And it was to check. They have a test kit that uses the test for colon cancer. I took the test. I had the results. Okay. People, Andrew Left went on TV and he told the world on CNBC, they let that criminal speak. They said, nobody's going to take this test. Who would do that? Well, millions and millions and millions of people worldwide do it. The stock went from 30 to 23 after his stupid rant. He went on TV against the doctor that designed it. And the stock went to 130. I think Bristol Myers took a stake in the company. And it's still $70-something. So you tell me how that guy was allowed to do that. And look what he was trying to destroy. An easy test to test for colon cancer. He didn't care. He cared less. He knocked the stock down 7, and him and his friends went out and he bought a house in Beverly Hills and had a party and said, fuck you, Longs. Look what we did. Hindenburg does the same thing. Carson Black does the same thing. Capybara, just an extension of all these other guys. The guy from White Rock Research who works for the Kramers, that lowlife out of Puerto Rico with the dog. They all do the same thing. It's easy, steal money. We stepped in and exposing all these criminals. How the SEC just paid out $27 million. And I'm sure that not Capybara, that whatchamacallit was part of it, Hindenburg, for exposing. They got 1 hour service. You call up, and what do? They shut the companies down. They pay them off. Here's $27 million for your whistleblowing. How many times have we whistleblown to the SEC about GTII and Finger Motion and MMTLP? I'm sick of saying it. And we've never
I'm sick of hearing it.
$27 trillion in financial crimes. We should get paid on it, right? For the woman that's down 70%, I can pay you back and get you up 200%. How's that? Get you back your 70 and 200% more. Give me my whistleblower complaint. Give me that. Give us the money.
So Scott, let's say that Jeff Easton shorted 1 billion shares at an average price of $1, 1 billion. If he were to, and then he drove the stock down to 10 cents, and he convinced his client to do a 1-for-10 split, he'd be able to take 900 million out of his account without paying taxes.
Without paying taxes. That's how much money they let disappear in MULN because of those reverses.
And hapless Biden is going after your Venmo accounts.
Right. There you go. That's what's at stake here. And if you don't want to stand up and I got it. Just retweet the MMTL people, whatever, anybody's positive that you like, or you can add your own, whether it's stock twits or Twitter. Make a statement. It's for your own family. Listen, I know we're losing. For the woman that said yesterday she was down GTII 70%, I got it.
Call ended.
He hung up. I didn't hang up. Don't look at me. It wasn't me. She caught me on the kitchen floor with the girl next door. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I don't know. His battery must have run out because normally he'd call back by now. I'm going to guess his battery ran out. Do you know what really frosts my bits? Well, no, he didn't say buy puts. I don't PS 71. I can't let you misquote him. He didn't say buy puts on Jeffries when it was 29 and 33. He talked about it. Maybe that's what you're saying. When Ham started talking about buying puts on Jeffries when it was 29 to 33. But he said wait to buy until the buy-in occurs in GTII. He didn't, the Alpine buy-in or the finger buy-in. Now I'm confused. I guess it was the finger buy-in. He didn't, he said wait. And PS 71, I suggested to everyone, and I think I said it specifically, that I thought about Jeffries, I thought these banks were going to go higher. They manipulate the market higher. I did a short little, well, it wasn't short, but 20 trillion in market appreciation happened around the world, 20 trillion with a T in the last 2 months. That's all the central banks, the Fed, focused on the S&P 6 or the, what do they call those 7, the magic 7? They just focus on a few stocks, they drive it up. And they also are driving up the banks. I think I repeatedly said, and I still believe, I felt that we were going to go to war. And I think that's played out. Ignore ignore everything they tell you on CNN so you can hate me and I can hate you. I don't hate you. It's all about providing liquidity to the banks. And as long as they can keep it propped up, people will leave their money in the banks. So anyway, I'm not surprised that Jeffries is up right now. And that is I like your point, Pia. I do like your conclusion. Regardless of what happens with Finger, regardless, you're probably right. Buying puts on Jeffries at $40, now that it's up and the premiums are reduced, it's a good time. Risk reward. I like the idea that you're presenting. I think it's terrific. Trying to see what's coming, and it sounds like a great trade. I really like that idea. That's it. Finger. It was Finger. Yeah, RC LaBelle. I get all. It's been a nerve-shattering experience for me, sir. I would be, Meekers. I kicked myself. I had closed a big transaction, and I put 75,000 into a silver company, and I trusted the guy. I had done a lot of research. The guy that introduced me is a great guy, great investor, wealthy man. And it was up in the British Columbia, the Golden Triangle. And I'm trying to remember what other good things about it. But anyway, I owned like 3% of the company with that investment. That's great. And there had all sorts of good things coming. But guess what? Criminals destroyed that stock. I'd still have my shares, but a reverse split later, another reverse split, another reverse split. I think my original investment, which I thought was going to go to the moon, it's worth 15 grand. And I can't even get it back into the system. And meanwhile, I own 0.0000000000001 of the company. But it's a great company. So that's one thing I did. The other thing I did, I bought silver. I bought a lot of silver, physical silver. I did one real estate transaction where the guy on the other side of the table completely misrepresented where he stood in the transaction. So that cost me 10,000 ounces of silver. And then slowly for other reasons, I had to sell the rest. So I don't have that. But my point is, Meekers, at the time, that I probably invested a total of $225,000 in those various items, maybe a little more. If I just put 25,000, which I was serious, I'm telling you, I have notebooks somewhere. I was writing it down. I was trying to understand these concepts. What's a cold wallet? It was Max Kaiser and his lovely wife. I don't even think they were married then. And I was all into it. But Meekers, when I called people, I'd called people I know. No one ever, there wasn't anybody that I didn't know that many young people, I guess. It was around 2011, maybe 2010. And I looked it up. It was under $1. That's what I remember. Man, I'd be rich right now, Meekers. And man, I'd be arrogant. I wouldn't talk to any of you all. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, thank you, Meekers. I sometimes I lose my cool, and I let my frustration show. But what makes this a great channel, as you call it, is Ham, and then all the other people that come in, like Not Legal Advice, Big JR, Anna, Busy Brands, Ace, Avid, Arca, and every now and then I get the great Pedro Philly comes in and talks, and then we've had CEOs on from a couple. Well, same CEO, two different stocks, and I hope to do more of that. So it's all of everybody that's on the channel. And all I try to do is, well, I do try to educate a little bit. I'm not particularly good at it, apparently, but I also try to provide context. And I don't care, Meekers, if people disagree with me, that's fine. But what I do, and I'm going to try to be more efficient at eliminating, I do not like the bullying, the shilling, the bud stirring. It's a lot like that movie, As Good as It Gets. If you're selling crazy, go down the hall. We're all full up here or something like that. And I can't deal with crazy, and I'm not really good at dealing with bullies either. Billy Ray had a great idea. Let me look up Billy Ray Valentine's stock. I was looking at that last night, and I'm going to have to do a video on it. But HNRA, Billy Ray, they got it down now under 2. But I looked at the chart last night. It is identical, as my dad said people in upstate New York used to say, identical. I don't know where they get that from. But it's got a market cap of 7 million, Billy Ray. And this is what I have to try to put together. It's in a press release or a presentation. But I think the ownership of Pogo Producing or Pogo Energy is around 76 million is the appraised value. So that stock is selling at a huge discount, and Pogo is earning, is cash flowing, and I love your idea, Billy Ray. Is that about me? Looks like he's playing stupid and he's winning. I saw a good one the other day. I can't remember it. I can't remember it, but that's a good one. Well, Craig, a friend of mine at Oppenheimer years ago, she told me the number one stock to buy was Amazon, and I think it was down in the $10 or $15 range. And that was back, and I still am in this frame of mind. But everything's been delayed. But I just had in my head peak oil and what it would do to the dollar and silver and gold and all those thoughts. Well, that was 15, 20 years ago. And then we've had this period of time where everything's worked out. I think we're going into a period of time where almost everything is not going to work out. But to me, Amazon made no sense, because what if gasoline went to $30 a gallon? How would they deliver all those items? I still think that's the biggest single risk to Amazon. But then I think about it, maybe by having trucks or trains delivered to warehouses with diesel, and trains are really efficient, and then dedicated cars deliver the goods rather than putting all of the goods in a big box store and then having people drive to the mall. Maybe net it's less gasoline under the Amazon model. I don't know. But needless to say, I didn't buy Amazon, and I would have been, like you're saying, maybe I could have married that overly purchased woman, Lauren Sanchez. Well, it's interesting. I did a small video on this interview with David Morgan, and it's a 5-year-old interview, which is incredible to me. But it's all the same stuff. But he said the COMEX. He was describing how on the COMEX there's 500 paper ounces to 1 physical ounce of silver. And that's what they can track. It could be 1,000 to 1. And it sounds so similar to what we're dealing with. But he says on the COMEX, if you own the contract, you're only allowed to take delivery of 1,500 contracts per month. I don't know how to do the arithmetic, but that translates into you can only take delivery of 7.5 million ounces of silver off the exchange per month. The rest you have to take cash. So he says everything that's set up in the futures exchange is for the short, not for the long. And then he goes on to say they protect that for a lot of reasons, mostly because it's a boys' club that's partial to taking on trades that most people would think are foolish. Doesn't that sound like Ham? No one would do this trade. No one. No, if Kramer or Easton worked on a trading desk, they'd be fired. That's Ham saying that. I mean, and then he goes on. David goes on. I mean, who wants to short silver when it's $5 an ounce? Doesn't that sound like Ham? Who wants to short GTII at 40 cents? Who wants to short Finger at $4? And then it sounds just like our stocks. Who wants to short silver now that when this book was written, now at 14.50, silver's now around 23. And he says that 14.50 is a good price to get silver out of the ground. Anyway, my opinion is this lionization of the financial markets. You've got a lot of high testosterone, highly creative, highly competitive, mostly men, testosterone, looking to cheat. And they do all of this same stuff they do with Finger, GT, the same stuff that Jeff Easton does. Jeff Easton walks around like Jeff Easton's is a big shot. He's just a front. Jeff Easton and Lynn Partners are just a front for the criminal organizations who he syndicates deals to. But he thinks he's special. He's not special. He's just willing to break the law and be immoral. And from my way of thinking, and I'm not proselytizing, he's willing to take the risk that when he goes to meet his maker, when the judgment day comes in Jeff Easton's specific case, the maker's going to buy his bullshit that, it was, the lawyer said it was okay to do this. Well, what did you do, Jeff, in your lifetime? Oh, well, I destroyed 55 companies. I put their corporation out of business. I evaporated the tax base of at least 40 cities. I ruined the lives of shareholders. And of course, some people killed themselves. But I have a lawyer that says, there's a loophole. What? Why worry? There's a loophole. Jeff Easton's willing to take that gamble with his immortal soul, whatever that means. I'm not claiming to know what comes afterward, but Jeff Easton's willing to do that, all for lucre here today in this world. And so's Hailey Kim, Sam Chung, John Howard, and Philip Vallier at the Lynn Partners. But the thing is, they're not special. Jeff Easton isn't special. He's a day trader of Yahoo shares who's willing to be immoral. He has no moral compass. But he thinks he's special and smart. He's got lawyers. He's got these clients who probably represent some of our biggest and most renowned money managers. It could be Griffin, it could be Fink, it could be Cohen. Who knows? But my point is, just like with Mayo and the Kramers, when the whip comes down, those funds, those big boys, they're gonna brush Jeff Easton out of his office on Madison Avenue, and they're gonna put him in the back of one of those big, making big noise. One of those, they pick up the container, they put it in the back of the trash truck, and it crushes. And they'll never think about him again. He's just a cog in a wheel. He's nothing special. Jeff Easton comes from a long line in all of humanity of greedy MFs. And that's all he is. What should I let busy brands know? What am I supposed to let busy brands know? I don't know what stock you're talking about. I don't know what stock you're talking about. I suppose it's possible if whales own the stock and they forgot to put out GTC orders, the shares may be available to borrow. I just have no idea what stock you're talking about. Oh, ZJYL. I don't think so. Well, let me say it differently. Those are Ham's friends. I'm just not sure they own that much of that particular stock. What I understand is going to happen with that stock, and it's just down the rumor mill, is they're going to do a forward split so that the price, it's 127 now. What if they did, I don't know, a 100 for one split, and they got the price down to $1.27? All of a sudden, everybody in the world would be buying the stock, and the criminals would be short. They'd be trapped short. But I don't know. I would imagine, if you mean by Ham's friends, if you were to expand it to whichever firms they're working with, and maybe bankers and maybe wealthy people, yeah, it could be. But that sounds like a lot of stock available to borrow. It almost contradicts what I understand. My understanding is that circle of wealthy investors and maybe institutional investors own the entire float of, I think he said 105% of the float, ZJYL. Well, if I remember AMC, his report on AMC earlier than everyone else, institutions owned 165% of AMC, if my memory is correct. And he put out, I mean, that doesn't even account for retail holdings or other investors. So I've heard, Mohammed, and I'm not saying buy it. If you buy it, I just buy 100 shares, because it's the risk reward in ZJYL. If you buy too much, obviously from $127, the risk is $127. But I heard that could go to thousands, 10, 20, $30,000 a share. They're going to make the shorts pay in ZJYL. So, and there's no volume today, 38,000 shares. But Mohammed, I'm not recommending it. I don't know anything about it. But risk reward, if you're willing to risk $125 and it goes to 12,500, it's a hell of a thing. Killing the man. You take away everything he's got and everything he's gonna have. Ahmed. Oh, M1 Ahmed. I'm sorry. My apologies. I thought it was, I thought you were just spelling Muhammad differently. Sorry. M1 Ahmed. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Ahmed. I didn't mean to be rude. I really didn't. I was trying to pronounce it correctly, but that's what happens when you make an assumption. You make an ass out of you and umption. Yeah, Ham's something. He doesn't know his value, in my opinion. I've said it before, Barb, but when I was young, God, it's weird. Time is the weirdest thing. I never thought I'd be here, but I was noticing in my video I did late at night last night, the dark, the shadows. I look like my father. I mean, I must look like my mother too, but to me, I look just like my father. When he was he was an old guy and I was in my looking up to him. So time, it's a weird thing. But anyway, when I was young, uh, there was a clear separation between retail and institutional. And there was even further separation there were walls between research, investment bank, trading desk, and whether you were at Merrill or at Alex Brown or Legg Mason or Johnston Lemon, each firm made a market in stocks, maybe not the whole world of stocks, but they made a market in stocks. They had trading desks and you had traders to call. We couldn't call them. When I was at Merrill, we had to call into I think it was out of the Rock Center, the Regional Operations Center. Let's call it the Rock Center. But you'd had to call some liaison that would then call down and then they'd get back to you. It's like Nightmare City, but you couldn't talk to the trading desk. I would have loved, my bottom line, I would have loved to be able to talk to a guy like Ham when I was trading and get that insight. And you don't think they were making money off of retail? Oh my gosh, I'm sure. I really appreciate that, Lazy. I thank people. Last night I got off wondering again, why do I do it? I felt like I forget now what I was. There were two people I talked to, one on MMTLP and the other on a different thing. And I got upset and I said, oh gosh, I shouldn't be doing these lives. So you look like a hybrid between your mother and your father. Who was the hybrid? Well, yeah, I think I'm trying to look. I can't see out of this eye. I'm looking at myself right now. I think I mostly look like my dad, but my guess is I'm lucky that I look like my mother. I just don't know. When my parents met when they're young, and there's a theory that you made up with people that look like you. So maybe yeah, Ham on our side is awesome. Yeah, it's 122. I don't want people to overly invest in this ZJYL, but I'm thinking if I'll buy 100 shares for the heck of it. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. That's what I'm going to do. Just for fun, I'm going to No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy 100 shares of that. I'd rather own Logic, or I'd rather own something I know about. And I think GDC, if ZJYL goes, I think GDC is going to go. There may be a mole in his inner circle. I don't know. M. Casey, I think that'd be a bad investment, whoever's paying that mole, because as best I can tell, Ham tells you everything he knows, everything that he knows. So, I mean, I think it'd be a waste of money to have a. I know 100 shares is a lot. It's too much, Ahmed. It's too much. FNGR and GTII are great buys at these prices. I think so. I actually think I agree with you, but what intrigues me about FNGR is you could go out now and buy calls on FNGR. Not a lot, but you could buy them really inexpensively. And I would stay close to the money, in the money. But isn't that something, Meekers? 30K. I know, it's just Meekers, I don't know how old you are, but my experience is if you can shake that off, there'll even be a better deal that's made available to you. You don't know what it is, but it'll come. And as long as your frame of mind is ready to accept it, maybe you won't make 12 million, but you'll make a couple of million. Yeah, 1 or 2 shares might be the way to do it. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to do. I don't want to. My computer. This is the biggest goal, other than this eye, is to get this replaced, and then I'll have a night out with the neighbor's wife. I don't even know any neighbors here. I'm sure it's broker dealer, but I don't know. That's a little out of context. It could be Big Dog. It could be Bad Mamba Jamba, but I think it's broker dealer. Well, Miguel, Chicago. That's a cute picture. I would be really careful of buying that. If you were to buy 7,900 shares at 7, number one, you'd be buying it more cheaply than I did, but that would cost you 55,000. I think it'd be worth paying a lawyer about $5,000 to write up a contract, which is rock solid. I also think I would require that Miguel, that that person moved the MMTLP to AST, so it's NextBridge shares. And then I would try to do the trade through AST. But I think I'm sorry about my computer. I think there would be levels of approval you'd have to get from the company. And, but it wouldn't be that hard, I don't think. But the real risk there is if you buy MMTLP, and let's say in 9 months, let's say he has it at Fidelity, and Fidelity comes back and says, we're going to offer $750 a share for your MMTLP. Well, if you gave that guy 55 grand and those contracts aren't in, it's going to cash, see you down the road. So I mean, if I were a lawyer like Richard Hoffman, I would make a cottage trade out of creating a contract which buyers and sellers could meet in a gray market, record the contract at the local courthouses, maybe of the buyer and of the seller, but certainly at the courthouse where NextBridge Holdings resides. I don't know if that's Texas or Nevada. Yeah, I mean, but anyway, it's probably too much of a pain in the arse. Picking up what you're putting down. If you can help William understand the threat, then that might be helpful. Ryan. Oh, let me go up to Ryan. The photo of GD is photoshopped. Well, maybe it's because I was in front of the truck. Maybe they put Gary Gensler instead of me. There is a picture, Ryan, of Gary Gensler walking, or it's a video maybe, but he's walking away when they were at the Mayflower Hotel. I don't recall seeing the truck in that picture, though. I just recall his two O.J. Simpson type cars, black instead of white. William isn't grasping the warning mentioned. All right, I'm not, you're right. That's me being but Jeff, if you go to Busy Brands, I don't know, Anna, if you know Anna, or most of the major players, Ace, they can get you to ham. Yeah, BD, yeah, broker dealer. We have, and I think that's going on is the banksters, as the government creates obligations, the central bank, the Fed, buys the debt, putting money into the system. And as banksters, you don't have to get a huge piece of trillions of dollars to get wealthy beyond wealth. And if you move that money out, as long as the dollar is accepted worldwide, you convert that money into yachts, young girls or young boys, I guess, wineries. I don't know what else. Physical assets, basically. You're going to be rich when it all falls down. And they're all in on it. They're all in on it. They're all in on it. All caps may help. Not with me. I'm slow. Um, well, I think 790 is a I mean, I can see if someone's in urgent need of money and they just want to get out of it, you know. But I agree with you, kid. I think that price is really, really low. If you take, um, I mean, they now own 100%. I heard the median is 5.7 billion barrels. Of oil equivalent. Well, just oil. They have natural gas. Let's pretend they don't. They have water that's valuable. Let's pretend they don't. And they have some other properties. Let's pretend they don't have those. So 5.7 billion barrels of oil, of Earl. They're proving it up. They moved to 100%. If you had two bidders and a company were willing to pay $5 a barrel in stock, it would help them become a big company. They wouldn't have to develop it right away. It would start cash flowing. They could borrow against it. But just using $5 a barrel, Exxon did their deal for Pioneer at $30 a barrel. But of course, Exxon bought Pioneer much, 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 much later in the developmental stage. In fact, Pioneer is almost like a manufacturing plant because they've got their acreage. Every section is being drilled on and developed. But anyway, $5, and we can discount that once we multiply it out. That's $28 billion worth of oil in the ground. And I think it's risked because I'm using $5. I think 5.7 billion barrels is low, but you divide that by, I think they have 265 million shares out now. By the way, this number is different than what I think a settlement number should be, because that should be divided by 164 million. You shouldn't be diluted. But anyway, divide that by 265 million shares. It's $107 right now. I think at a low level, Nextbridge should be worth about $100 a share right now. There's all sorts of risks. I mean, we're not talking about something without a lot of unknowns. But if you want to risk this even further, chop it in half. That's $50. You want to risk it further? Just take a quarter of that, $25. I suppose you can take an eighth of it and go to $12 or $13. So I agree with you. $7.90 is a low price. Uh-oh, sounds like a setup. I enjoy your show, but you're a bit of a jerk. No. Can you tell us what the true share price of Finger GTII would be if they weren't shorted? Well, I'm going to assume you mean right now, today. as opposed to what one could project they'd be in 6 months or a year. I would point out to you that we have barely started January. So, in my opinion, there's been pressure on both stocks from tax loss selling year end. So, I would think both stocks would be selling below perhaps sort of an intrinsic value now. Finger has, if I recall correctly, a market cap of around $180 million right now. That's a sizable market cap. But I think I would answer your question using the research report from Benchmark, which valued Finger, to be simplistic, it is the value they gave, at $5 a share. They wrote that report about 4 or 5 months ago. I have it here somewhere, but I don't see it so that I can show you. But anyway, from memory, it was a detailed report, and it looked like 2 good analysts. They based the $5, and I don't want to go through it, but Finger has about 6 different legs of their stool that they can make revenue on. I'm not, you've heard the story. The 2 analysts said that they were being extremely conservative. And if Finger were to meet their targets, and if Finger were to become profitable, they would re-rate, in other words, increase their target price. And I think Finger, you're going to see in a week or so, I don't know when the earnings come out, I think it's next week, you're going to see earnings full stop. You're going to see earnings. They've never had a quarterly report, to my knowledge, that was earnings positive. I think this time you're going to see earnings, positive earnings. So you could get a re-rating. Now I'm concerned that Benchmark is they funnel companies to Jeff Easton and Lynn Partners, for example, and others. They may not follow up with a better report, but so I'd say $5 in Finger right now. I don't know what you mean by true share price, but I think Finger would be at $5. What's hard to answer in your question is how much further along would Finger be if Jeff Easton and his cohorts hadn't manipulated the price downward, hadn't put a stress on management, hadn't made it difficult for management to accelerate their growth by other financings. And that's all unknowable because you can't unring a bell. So I think Finger right now would be around $5. And I think it will be $5 by the end of the month. If earnings come in, like I believe, if they announce a special dividend, like I believe, and if they do some sort of financing / merger acquisition through the auspices of Univest, I mean, the stock could be 10 or 15 or 20 or 25. And then if you care, I think if Finger fulfills its destiny as it's laid out right now, it easily could be a $40, $50 stock, $100 stock in a if you're willing to wait 2 or 3 or 4 years. Obviously, the longer you wait, I was taught when I was a younger guy, the longer you wait, you've got to factor in risks like war and things like that. GTII, I think, is a little different. GTII probably, if it did not have a large short position, believe it or not, I think it'd be trading much lower if it didn't have the short position. I think it'd be trading like Logic or any shell out there. However, what GTII has proven over the last 3 years is that their management is not going to do a deal with the shorts. They're not going to reverse split. They're not going to issue shares to bail out Charlie Mayo and the Kramers and Alpine. So one of the assets from an investment standpoint, and that's the problem, we don't know. I asked Gary Gensler. I asked Robert Cook. I asked Adina Friedman, why the hell don't we know the numbers that the criminals know? Why can't we have access to how many shares have been sold, failed to locate for sure? Why do we have to have a debate? But Joe, if you listen to a gentleman who retired from the American Stock Exchange, and his name is out there in a Frank Nez report, he doesn't believe there's no way in hell there's any shares short in GTII of any significant magnitude. He believes that what happens in the market, what happened to CAUD, he doesn't follow HNRA, what happened with Logic and Wayland is the stocks go down because computer algorithms just trade back and forth all day downward. Well, maybe that's what used to happen. He also believes you have to ask for the no-bo list, the no objection list, the we don't mind if the brokerage firms let the transfer agent know our individual position. Just get the no-bo list and you'll see that the big position's not there. I think this is such a level of faith in the system to be almost foolish. My question is, why would the hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars that get sold through what they call pipes, electronic pipes, from Germany and the UK, why would they even sign a client opening client form with a broker dealer? Why would they even get involved with the no-bo list? They're going to do their criming. There, Drew can make fun of me. They're going to continue their criming without filling out any of that paperwork. I don't have faith in the system. So let me find your question. So that's your debate, Joe. Does there exist a huge counterfeit short position in GTII or next to nothing? I believe there is a very large naked short position in GTII. I think it's very easily 400 million, but I also acknowledge that it would be simple if FINRA, the over-the-counter markets, NASDAQ, the SEC required disclosure of the data, then we wouldn't have to have this debate. We'd know, just as the shorts already know. The counterfeiters already know. There's no level playing field. So anyway, one of the assets of GTII is the short position. The other asset of GTII is they have no burn rate to speak of. So they don't have to turn back to the pimps and the drug dealers, the criminals. They don't have to go back to Kurt Kramer for money. So they won't do a reverse split. They won't kneecap a squeeze. But I think without that short position, the stock would be lower because that is the play. The short position is the play. Now, then you can wonder how many shares are in the flow to GTII. I don't know anymore because as time has gone by, quite a bit of the restricted shares when I first got involved have been released to be unrestricted. Also, the insiders awarded themselves a lot of stock. Now that's restricted for the most part, and they can't sell it willy-nilly, but they can sell 1% a month. And I think that's the way they're slowly monetizing their work. And I think a good argument can be made that that's better than doing what COSM did to shareholders. GTII has disappointed people, but you know, let's just blame GTII. It's unfair. NASDAQ, SEC, sorry, not NASDAQ, FINRA, SEC have rejected various stratagems that FINRA GTII put in place to cause a reckoning that Gary Gensler, Robert Cook, Adina Friedman assiduously avoid having occur. Adina of her $28 million a year, Goober Gensler of his $125 million fortune, and Robert Cook of chairs that probably break under his weight. I don't know how much he makes, 2 million or something a year. He's a piker compared to the rest. But they don't enforce the rules. None of them. So GTII put out a special dividend, which was going to be Shiba Inu coins. That got rejected. They purchased a company called Beyond Bitcoin that was going to do some sort of see, it's an area I don't understand, but they were going to distribute some that got rejected. They did a special warrant as a special dividend, which was working until Cosmos came along and popped the bubble. That's my opinion. It's the real world. You can't prove one way or the other. But hey, I don't believe in coincidences. So that didn't work out. It worked for a while, but then the bubble got popped. They did a special dividend as a restricted share, 1 share per 10. That might be working out now, might not be. It seems to be going up the market. They there's another one I'm missing. I'm forgetting altogether. Oh, they announced they were going to uplist on Upstream, and then that was Ham. Ham gave Upstream to CRTD to I think COSM. He gave it to, for sure, he gave it to 2 or 3 other companies, and to the CEO with 3 first names, who takes all the credit in the world. Forget the name of his company. Ham handed it out. Oh, and then GTI also hired Wes Christian. Ham gave that name out to everybody. So GTII tried every angle to cause a reckoning. I believe that the float is much larger now than the 25 million I've thought. However, what's the effective float? I think it's still around 25 million shares, because most of those extra shares that have become unrestricted are held by whales, and they own a lot of the stock, and they're not selling until, in my judgment anyway, until the stock price is much higher. GTII also signed contracts to buy a law firm, which, to just keep it short, never eventualized. There were a lot of false starts, auditors, this, that, but it's like doing business with a woman. You contract out to sell your house and renovate it with a woman, and you trust her, you like her, she has the money, but she keeps giving you a lot of different reasons that, oh, not now, that, let me think about that. Well, then you look back on it, she never intended to do it. And I think that's what happened in the case of the law firm. I don't believe the law firm ever intended to follow through, but we didn't know that. We didn't know that. So there's a mood, Joe, that everything GTI brings out, nothing works. Well, frankly, FINRA blocked it, SEC blocked it, COSM came and popped the bubble. I wouldn't be surprised if that firm was paid off. Of course, that's in my judgment and opinion. I don't know. But GTII keeps trying to do it. Keeps trying to have a reckoning. We do know that Alpine has been caught out with a major short position by the NSCC and the DTCC. We do know that the FBI is investigating a $4 million DK trade at a retail branch of Pacific West that might lead back to the Kramers. And we know Wes Christian is suing for spoofing. So we know all these things, Joe. But nothing happens quickly enough. So what's the value of GTII? What would be the true value? It's so hard to have an answer in GTII. Part of me says the stock would be a lot lower because right now it doesn't have visible massive assets. On the other hand, by definition, if the shorts weren't involved, if he never took the deal by the Kramers, his whole model is as an incubator where he brings in companies, they report for 2 or 3 years, they get off the ground as a public company, and then they float, and he keeps 10%, 12%, 20%, 5%, whatever's agreed, and they give back the shares that he had to issue. It's like a public incubator. It's like a SPAC almost. So where would it be without the criminal shorting? Where would it be that he didn't have to fight the 50 million shares which were counterfeited as soon as he borrowed, before, during, and after he paid off? He borrowed 60 grand from Kurt Kramer in Power Up Lending. And all of a sudden there's 40 to 60 million shares counterfeited. Where would he be? I don't know. He might be over $1, $5. I don't know. How many other companies could he have brought in to build value over the last 3 or 4 years? I don't know. It's hard to know. But if you're saying if GTII were not shorted, it's so hard to excise part of the shorts without the other part. If the Kramers never got involved, I think the stock would be higher. But they were involved and they have been involved. So it's hard to answer. But if you could just wave a magic wand and the shorts 400 million shares or no shares, if you believe the American Stock Exchange executive who's very smart, or if you believe Ham, who's been following it closely day by day, or something in between. If you can wave a wand and remove all counterfeits and all shorts in GTII as of now, but leave in place the damage that was done over the last 2 or 3 years, I think the stock would be lower than it is right now. If, on the other hand, the CEO had never met the shitsters at Power Up Lending, never taken 60 grand, I think his company would probably be, well, there'd definitely be fewer shares out. And some of his smaller acquisitions, therefore, would have a greater impact on the bottom line in terms of earnings and cash flow. So I think the share price would be higher. So it's nearly impossible to give you an answer in GTII. They have an eyeglass company, a healthcare company, both very small. They have a gold company out of Dubai, very small, and that's about it. And the short position, but they don't have a huge burn rate, so they don't have to go back to the criminals for money. That's a positive. Alpine has a lawsuit out that could stop at any time. The FBI's arrest could happen at any time. You could have buy-ins at any time. But so I'm fumbling around. If you could leave the damage done in place, but magic wand take away the short, I think the stock would be a lot lower. If, on the other hand, you could take away all the damage done from the start, from the start to now, I think the stock would be over $1 or $2, maybe much higher. Okay. What could change it? What could change it is Trento Mines. Trento Mines. But Joe, I don't know how much you know about that. An ambassador, Weissman? No, that's not it. I'm forgetting his name right now. It's just not popping in my head. But about 2 years ago, an international ambassador struck a deal with a lithium mine company, with the guys in Chile, and I believe a gold mine in Mexico, such that if he could arrange for GTII to own 40% of that and arrange for a financing, to my memory, $250 million international banking, GTII would buy 40% of a $30 billion asset in the ground. Now, I have not seen the engineering reports. I haven't seen the cost of getting that asset out of the ground. I don't know if the 30 billion is net of costs. So there's some ifs, ands, and buts. But it's lithium, it's gold, and it's probably other things too. Well, 40% of 30 billion is 12 billion. 12 billion. 40% of 30 billion is 12 billion. I don't know how many shares GTII would have to issue in that transaction, but I believe it was 100 million or 200 million at the time. It might be more now. So let's just divide it by total of 750 million shares outstanding. That's $16 a share if the Trento mine deal closed. $16 a share. And I think I'm being conservative because I think I used in my calculation, I used way too many shares issued. So if your question were to include the potential of the Trento mine deal finally being finalized, the stock could be a $15 stock. Yeah, well, the deal's that's been out there. It never gets done. It's just a hype, and the deal. They always announce deals, they never get done. Well, they've announced deals, which FINRA's blocked, SEC's blocked. I think even the chairman at CRD told Upstream, "Don't work with GTII." Upstream blocked. They had a warrant as a special dividend that I think was causing a squeeze, that another company came in and said, "Hey, we're here. We've got a better story. Give us your money." And being the retail investors that we are, we said, we've been in GTII for a year, and Lou says the company won't return his phone call, and COSM says they have a 2,000% short, and if they change the name and they change the QSIP, there's going to be a squeeze, and they're going to go on Upstream, and they have contracts like no other company has contracts, and they have they're not going to do a reverse split, and they're not going to do a deal with the shorts. Boom, everyone races over. Very few got in at 20, 22 cents. The stock raced to 88, 83, 86, 88 cents a share. And then COSM did a deal with the placement agent representing the shorts for $35 million. So people didn't make money in COSM, but man, it was a huge emotional rush to buy them. I know, I bought some, and then I quickly sold it. I either made or lost $1,000 or $2,000. But that destroyed that move. So everybody goes, "Oh, nothing ever works. Nothing ever works." Well, it's like herding cats. It's like herding cats. But in the case of Trento Mines, they arranged financing with some bank out of Spain, España, and then a bank out of London and a bank out of New York, if I remember correctly. And then some international banking crisis happened, but it was all slow. They had to meet with ministers out of Chile, Mexico, and it's just a big bureaucratic minister, meet the minister, sip of coffee, nice signature. It takes a long time. And then there was a problem in the banking system. I forget what caused it now. That first transaction didn't get done. And then SVB went down. Apparently, they got the funding again and they placed it at SVB. I don't know if that's bullshit, but that's what I was told. So they had to start over again. but the Trento mine is still out there. So, Joe, if the Trento mine were, in fact, to finally complete, it could be $15 right now. So I'm sorry about the complicated answer. I don't know what it means to say a true share price. The share prices are determined between buyers and sellers. So it's impossible to know. But I gave you the best answer I can give. Wolf getting beaten up. Wolf getting beaten up. So what's your what's your point? I think Wolf is, I mean, look, Ahmed, you either buy into the story, and Ham has said it a few times. I've never met the principals. I've never studied the story, but they took financing from Yorkville, another placement agent who syndicated, I guess, the share placement with a toxic dilutive note. And the stock got destroyed, absolutely destroyed. The 52-week high now is $4. But if you go back, let's just go 5 years because I don't want to. If you go back 5 years, it was, I don't know, $40 a share. And then you see the criminal activity. You see the criminals. You do a deal with Yorkville, it's Slavelandia. So anyway, if you're going to worry about daily movement in Wolf, don't buy it. But if you can pull out your horizon, it's making higher lows. This pullback is completely defensible on the basis that it broke through the 50-day moving average, the whatever this other one is, 100 or 200, the 200-day moving average, and almost reached its near-term peak, at least as you look on it at this graph. And then it's pulled back. That's a fairly normal thing. Nothing goes straight up, and you don't want it to go straight up. If something goes straight up, it comes right back down. So you want it to go up in stages, back and fill, back and fill, back and fill. It's like building a house, one floor at a time. And then all of a sudden, you've got a 10-story house. I know that's a bad analogy, and that's not how you build houses. But I think Wolf will easily get to $12 or $15 a share. And if you're worried that it's down $1, you shouldn't be in it. Or you should buy more. But if you can look beyond the manipulation, beyond the tax loss selling, beyond the worries that the ETF's not going through, and oh my gosh, Bitcoin's down, and all these things, Wolf apparently is an earnings machine. They mine Bitcoin, M-I-N-E, mine Bitcoin. And they use excess electricity, which has been contracted for, from nuclear power plants. Excess electricity. It's constant, it's cheap. Anyway, if you don't buy that story, I wouldn't trade it. But having said that, if it were to go to $1.71, which I maybe it will, maybe it even could go down to $1.49 if I can read that correctly. I think it's going to come roaring right back, and it's going to go to $7 is where the gap is. It'll go to 7 fairly quickly once it breaks through. I can't tell this price, 450 or so. I might be slightly off on that price. It's hard to tell. And then after it gets through 7 to 10, 7 to 10 might take a little while. It'll go to 12 to 15, 12 to 17. Gets through that, it goes to $27 a share. But you might have to wait for that, or it could happen in a matter of 1 or 2 or 3 days. But if Wolf getting beaten up on one day bothers you, don't buy it because it's going to be volatile. I think the criminals are still manipulating the stock, and it's just the markets we're dealing with. It's just the markets. Every stock which Ham recommends, or I recommend, or others recommend, which are not financial advice, of course, are manipulated in Gary Gensler, Adriana Friedman, Robert Cook's markets. It's just a fact. You did miss him. He said hiya. Wow, 30%. 9%. I am Casey. Happy New Year. Live. I know from my service at E-Trade, it's not free anymore. It used to be. It's not free anymore. I'm not even sure you can buy it. But I don't want another monthly debit in my life. I wouldn't sell ZJYL. Are you kidding? So you're down $100 probably. I can't do anything about that right now. And maybe you could lose another $100. Approximately. So if you sold right now, you'd save yourself the risk of losing $100 more. But why are you in it? I think you're in it because you heard there could be a short squeeze. And I think you heard Ham say that these wealthy investors own between them 105% of the stock. I think you also heard that there's a extremely large counterfeit short position in the stock. I think you also heard that what Ham is hearing is that stock could go to the moon. But anyway, if you'd rather get out and not risk losing another $100, only you can tell. But I think it's time to just hold it, write it off in your mind. Oh, well, it's going to go to zero, and don't worry about it. But what if it went to $1,000 or $10,000? I don't know. I don't know anything about the company, but other stocks out of China range, Southeast Asia, have run, and have had massive runs. But anyway, if you're not in it for the short squeeze, I definitely sell. I put my money elsewhere. But if you're in that because you think there might be a chance for a squeeze, why not stay in it? I agree, Kit. I think Univest is going to go in. Yeah, CB, every stock goes down. I know. I know. I don't know what to say about it. I guess I would tell you that I sat in the congressional hearing room when Gary Gensler told the Congress people, we have the deepest markets in the world, the most transparent, and the best capital formation in markets in the world. That's all a lie. That's all a lie. It's just not true. It's just not true. So either Gary Gensler, Deanna Friedman, Robert Cook, who's ever in charge of the New York Stock Exchange, the cumbersome at OTC markets, Culbrath Cumbersome or whatever the hell his name is. They either enforce the rules, which they don't, or they should follow Reg FD. Everybody else has to follow Reg FD. Full disclosure on every single brokerage statement, on every single brokerage advertisement, on every single brokerage glossy marketing pitch, on every brokerage website. They should have a picture of a blackened lung saying smoking is harmful to your health, saying smoking kills. They should fully disclose that we, as self-regulatory organizations, do not and will not enforce the securities laws of this country as Gary Gensler said right in front of me. Oh, we'll do whatever the courts tell us to do. Ballless Gary Gensler. He looks like a eunuch. They should be required to disclose. We will not, have not, and will not enforce the security laws that have existed for 90 years. We won't enforce them. Further, we approve and encourage our friends at Goldman Sachs Prime Brokerage and Citadel and all, etc. We encourage our friends to set up offshore accounts, which will flood the markets with trillions of dollars worth of counterfeit sales. We hire the media, we hire Congress, and we rely on the credulous to tell you that you're crazy. But in order to fully disclose, we're going to tell you you're not crazy. We allow big pools of money to sell trillions of dollars worth of non-existent shares. We allow placement agents to issue dilutive, toxic notes, which on their face destroy companies and tax revenues and jobs in cities. But we're the banks. We were born with the right to take every bit of market caps of every stock out there funded by your US Treasury. We were born with that right because we're special. They should put that full disclosure. And if you want a simpler statement, we as the SROs approve fraud in the United States securities market. There's no risk at all. If you invest, there's no risk. Know that your stock, every stock you buy is going to go down. There's 7 that go up, but otherwise every stock's going to go down. It'll stop. It'll stop at some point. It'll stop at some point. I'm going to try to go through, let's see this. I've been depressed lately. I think I need to exercise. Well, the sun, the sun will be back and the birds will sing. You can't be depressed without first having a thought. And then, of course, it becomes chemical and it feeds on itself. I don't know. Depression is black dog. And I know how painful it can be. But don't think about it in terms of this money. I've been trying, last night I did my first, and I'm going to try to get you guys thinking about silver, particularly. But I also think the over-the-counter markets are not going to stay down forever. Just because they've won and they are winning doesn't mean they're going to win forever. And the people working on MMTLP are doing a yeoman's job. But now it seems TradeStation, which is MMTLP, I know, but there's a subset of people working on the TradeStation part of it. Eventually, an aha moment's going to happen. And I think our best case is Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana will come up with some clever question and it'll be on front page news everywhere. When I went into his office, I went in twice. I asked his assistant twice, we just need him to come up with a clever slogan. She laughed, I laughed, and nothing happened. He has a big alligator in his huge gator or crocodile or something in his office. Thank you, Meekers. I used to know someone whose last name was Meeker, and I think that's also the name in Trading Places. I haven't been able to trade those shares, and I'm glad for it, Jay. I'm not going to go through why. It's good that we haven't been able to trade your shares. But I remember I made a promise to you. I will call Ham and ask to speak directly to the new advisor to have GTII call the brokerage firms and put IOUs in your account to tell them GTI will not object if you put more counterfeit shares in Jay Roach's account so he can trade it. Because we're going to pull back our methodology of catching out the system by requiring physical shares before we issue 1 for 10, which is going to maybe cause a short squeeze. But we've heard that Jay Roach doesn't really want to wait for the short squeeze. He doesn't understand it. It's too complicated. So I'm going to ask that GTII just tell all the broker dealers, we don't care. We're going to change our mind. We're going to remove the requirement that it's physical share, it's real shares. that you have to have real shares, 10 real shares to get 1 dividend shares. We're going to remove that. Go ahead and put in Jay Roach's account counterfeit shares so he can trade them. I don't think they can seller box GTII. That was a question earlier. I do think they can seller box Vocal. I do think they can seller box Vocal. Is it okay if we have MMTLP in my TD Ameritrade? I mean, it's as good as any other brokerage firm, which means not very good at all. But Sheikh, if I were you, I put 3/4 of my MMTLP. I moved it to I can't find it. I moved it to here, maybe it's here. No, well, I can't find it. I used to show it to you, but I can't show it to you today. Trying to be organized, but I'm not very organized. Anyway, I put 3/4 of my MMTLP into AST as NextBridge Holdings. In my judgment, you must do that. The last time I heard, which was about 3 weeks ago, I heard there's 135 million shares at AST. There's only, it's slightly less than this. There's only 165 million shares required for the system, or I don't know how to phrase it. There's only 165 million shares available at NextBridge for MMTLP. Already 135 million have been transferred. I don't have enough colored pens. I'm not sure you're going to be able to read this. Now, what I don't know, Sheikh, is this 135, is it vis-a-vis this number or the total 265? There are 265 million shares approximately, last time I looked, which are outstanding, issued and outstanding for NextBridge. So does the 135, is that as compared to this number or as compared to this number? I can't get that answer. All right. Everybody is waiting. And I don't know if it's an S1 or an S3. So I'm going to say S1. everybody in the world is waiting to see if the S1 is approved. It might be an S3. I don't know what the hell. And then you have 60 days. After that approval, you have 60 days to transfer your shares to AST in order to qualify for what McCabe put out on another project. It's a working interest. I don't remember it now. You can look it up. It's like 10%, 15% working interest. But most people are waiting for that approval before they transfer. So, Sheikh, let's assume, and I might be wrong, but let's assume for conservative purposes that this 135 is versus 165. And they're only waiting for 60 days, the S1 approval in 60 days. That means there's only 30 million shares available of NextBridge. Okay. So after the S1 is approved, and there's no reason it shouldn't be, there'll be a 60-day, in my opinion, a 60-day rush to move into AST, and there's 30 million shares available of NextBridge. Why would people want to go? Because this really adds up to money. It is real ownership of a real oil field. It may not be huge, but it's significant. Why is McCabe doing it? My opinion, he wants to know that this is finalized. He wants to define the problem. All right, first let's get the shares in, and he's giving an incentive for people to do that. All right, Sheikh. How many shares do you think exist of MMTLP? $650 million shares exist of MMTLP. At least. It could be much higher. MMTLP is simply an IOU. It has zero worth. It has no assets, no management, no oil fields, no income, no revenue. It doesn't even have a shadow. It doesn't even have a shadow. So, Sheikh, when you find out that the S1 is approved and everyone on Spaces is saying, oh gosh, I want to get my 10%, whatever it is, 10% ownership, I'm going to move over to AST. There's 30,000 available. There's 650 million shares. I mean, 30 million. I think it's going to be a mad scramble and it's going to be crazy. So if I were you, I would move from MMTLP over to the American Stock Transfer, and I would get NextBridge shares. Okay. What are the benefits of doing that? Serenity now. Serenity now. Serenity now. I just showed you. I'm not going to do it again. One of the benefits is there's $100 per share of oil minimum. I think it's over $1,000 a share, even now. But I'm not going to. Maybe I have to do a video on it. Second benefit, you own Here's a couple more benefits. You own something. MMTLP isn't nothing. There, Drew can make fun of me on Twitter. It's a private placement. You couldn't get in. You wouldn't qualify, and you wouldn't hear about. It's tax deferred in the sense that if you paid $8 a share, like I did, $7.90, and it's worth $800, that entire increase in value comes tax-free. Okay, what are the negatives? What are the negatives? I'm not going to write them down. The only negative is it's a private company. You don't know when you're going to have liquidity. That's the negative. That's the negative. You don't know when you're going to have liquidity. Okay. So your next question is going to be Sheikh. You're going to ask, what if there's a settlement? Okay. I would ask, what do you mean by settlement? If you mean a settlement that goes through the court system, if a settlement goes through the court system, if a settlement goes through the court system, I think that settlement could take another 8 to 10 years. So in that, in that scenario, I would rather have my shares at AST. I can't deal with this. I'm going to try to answer this question, and then I've got to sign off. I have to buy a new computer. I would rather, if it's a legal settlement, have my shares. Hey, boy.